Welcome to the Explosive Strength Podcast with Jared Binney. Today's episode, I'm going to talk about stuff that's happened at the gym this past week, and I've also got some more emails to answer for those who want to know about training questions and things like that. So anyway, let's get into it. This email is from Cody Novak. Hi, Jared. My name is Cody Novak. I am a high school strength coach in Seattle, Washington. First off, thank you for sharing so much information about what you do. I've listened to all your podcasts and also have your jump book. Due to your information you've shared, it's helped me a lot, helped my athletes improve their verticals, squat maxes, and 40s by a lot. My question is, do you perform any dynamic work for the upper body? I know you bench 3 times a week and use press downs a lot. I'm just curious if you use dynamic work for the upper body. Cody, we do not use dynamic work for the upper body. I've had people do depth jumps, so to speak. They'll put 2 squat boxes off to the side, fall down on the mat, and almost like a depth jump with your hands. So you catch yourself in a push-up position, then you push and explode up. I've had kids reach mid-20s like that. It can really be beating down on your wrist, but that was a way for us to try to track our dynamic upper body work. If we did dynamic upper body work, we used to do that. We used the speed bench and things would change, and bands, but the kids really wasn't getting anything out of that. But if you pause bench, remember pause benching or squatting, when you pause bench, that is a static dynamic method. So if you come down, you pause on your chest and you overcome the bar, dynamically, that's a way to implement the dynamic method. Just kind of like box squatting helps increase rate of force development and absolute strength at the same time. So that's what the static dynamic method does, if I didn't clarify that before. You got methods, they're called contrast methods, which are reactive methods. And you have other people doing contrast methods here and there. But you got contrast methods, which are the static dynamic effort method. You got the load release method, you got the heavy light method, and you got a system of pneumatics. I don't have super training to I can't go completely over exactly what the sentences say, but I do know the static dynamic method improves rate of force development and absolute strength at the same time. So if you have all your kids pause bench, that's a form of doing a dynamic work without being too dynamic. On the last podcast, I talked about where people are trying to move stuff too fast. And if you're trying to move stuff too fast, that you don't create enough tension. And if you don't create enough tension, you're not going to create the right amount of strength to get through gains or returns that you're looking for. But we went to a powerlifting competition years ago, and I had a kid, 15 years old, 335 competition bench for a world record. I don't know, I've had 14, 15 kids bench 405 in high school. Numerous state records, national records, American records for powerlifting. Went to a competition. They said, "What the hell do y'all do for bench?" I'm thinking, we bench. But the thing what we were doing all the time is we was pause benching all of our reps a lot. We don't do it so much nowadays, but I will integrate that in from kid to kid from time to time, depending on if I see that kid slowing down or if I just want to change it up. We do that. But you can. If you wanted to do some upper body work, some upper body ideas would be just old-fashioned med ball passes, catch, absorb, and give it back. Or like the depth jumps with your hands. So you're in a push-up position on a 12-inch box, each hand, fall down on a jump mat, catch yourself at whatever angle you want to, explode out of the angle, and now you've got, say, a 18.1 or 12.2 vertical. So the next time you'd come in, fall down on the mat, boom, jump up, and track it over time like that. That's what we used to do. It can be grueling and can kind of beat up your wrist a little bit. I used to do it. It's like when you read Verkhoshansky's shock method, you will actually feel a shock going almost like a circuit right from arm to arm, shoulder to shoulder. You're like, ugh. So you'll understand what the shock method is if you did that with your upper body versus the lower body. You don't really feel it as much, but you can really feel the shock method with that. So Cody, for football players, you can try it, but I don't like the med balls because if I don't see or if I don't understand the benefit of something like that, I just kind of throw it out. That's why we used to do it. Now we don't do it. I've had some baseball players come in this past fall and I had them do it because they were talking about loading in a stretch position and things of that nature. But again, it was hurting over time. It could beat your wrist up. So we didn't really stick with it long enough to see if it works. And that's what a lot of people don't do, is try something and do it for a long period of time and see if it works. Just if it don't work for the first month, don't mean it does not work, but over time, you should be able to see some type of residual effect. Okay. Also, this is also from Cody. Also, how do you implement floor press with chains? After bench sets or in place of? We never replace our bench. I have had some people, oh boy, these are loaded questions, because it's not, we bench first, and then our secondary or supplemental lift to our bench is either incline or floor press with chains. And so rule of thumb for our floor press, like if someone walked in the gym, took pictures of the stickers, sometimes I don't even have floor press on the sticker for specific kids, but I'll have specific kids do floor press when I want their bench maxes to go up. It helps a little quicker than incline. So rule of thumb, if they're in the benching in the 200s, they have 2 chains per side, and we're doing anywhere between 4 to 6 reps for 3 sets. If they're in the 100-pound range or less, they get 1 chain per side. If they're in 200s, they get 2, and some athletes that are in the 3s get 3 chains per side. And that way we're not changing 1 chain with 225 on it. We can add more chain. And it's a great way for the kids. We do close grip chain floor press. We're not doing bench grip floor press. We're doing 1 to 2 fingers on the smooth, elbows coming down on your side, and working on our lockout that way. Our bench grips can vary between, most kids at the gym have their pinky on the ring, but we're coming in with a floor press with a chain and working our triceps that way, because sometimes the kids don't know how to focus on their tricep press downs. They'll know how to focus and strain up on the bar. So right now with my kids benching 3 days a week, I'm getting about 20 pounds per month per kid off of the floor press with chain when I do that. And sometimes, like, I'll do it for 2 months and I may go away from it and I may go to incline. We don't incline with chain. We will pause incline, use the static dynamic on the incline. If we pause bench, we won't pause incline. So, that's the main things we do with that. So Cody, I really appreciate the question. If anybody else has any questions about this stuff, just feel free to email me. Now I got this other email. John Harshman, Jared, recently found you online and what you're doing to help kids get bigger, faster, and stronger. Are you familiar with Ryan Flaherty methodology using a trap bar, deadlifting predicted 40-yard sprint times by the max weight to body weight ratio? If so, your thoughts. Being you're a data guy, you keep track of non-contact injury rates with your athletes. Also, only ask because I'm sure the critics out there, which I'm not one of them, I think that the heavy lifting leads to injuries. Okay, let me see. I just messed that up. So just one of your thoughts on the 2 items. Ryan Flaherty, he trained Christian McCaffrey, I think, with a trap bar deadlift. There's a kid that came to the gym a couple of months ago, or actually last year. He came in, he jumped to 30 or 29, 30, somewhere 29, maybe 31-inch vertical. But by the end of the month, he was jumping over 40 to 41 inches. I said, what the hell happened? Because through the month, if you look at how he was tracking his jumps, each lower body day, our jumps are tracked. And he was in the 30s, boom, then all of a sudden that 40 was exposed. And so I was asking, having a conversation. I talked to a lot of people from all over. So sometimes I don't even know if I said this on a podcast. I don't know if I've said it, where I've said it. But if I've said it, I'll repeat it. Sometimes you'll get these athletes, just like that kid I had. Like Ryan may be exposing something that was already hidden in Christian McCaffrey, or Christian McCaffrey may have not been doing as much running and much football stuff, because you've heard, like, on a lot of the other podcasts, when these kids are out overrunning, when they're doing these 7-on-7s, when they're doing all this extra stuff out there in the off season, they're not getting the gains that they should. Like I can usually average a tenth of a second off someone's 40-yard dash if they're not doing too much extra. If their 40-yard dash continues or starts to stalemate in improvement, I know that they're doing something outside the gym because if you only have a handful that are not getting better and you got all this other pool of people that are getting better, and you know that, okay, I know these kids are doing something outside the gym and these kids are not, I'm just trying to expose and trying to talk to people and let them know, hey, you're doing too much. So I wonder if the trap bar could be like the squat ratios. I've tried it on some kids, but I still don't get as much of a result out of it. Just because I think it has to do with the hip and knee flexion and extension. Like with the trap bar, I know they're using the high handles. You don't really get a whole lot of bend in the knees and the hips. So I don't know how much you're actually getting out of it versus the squat, where we've got the Tendo unit measuring the actual bar velocities and bar speeds relative to body weight in order to give us more of a fine-tune ratio. Because you got some people that are grinders and you got some people that are just naturally explosive. So your grinders could probably trap bar deadlift more weight, your grinders, but your explosive people probably cannot deadlift as much weight. So the ratio is going to have some holes in there with the trap bar versus the squats, with the squats having the Tendo unit tied to it. Now you could possibly tie a Tendo unit to the trap bar, but with the Tendo unit, you may have Perch or some other systems out there, even GymAware. With the Tendo unit, the way we got it and the way it comes standard is you have to move that string 12 inches in order to get a reading. There are some devices out there that are coming less. I know OVR Performance is coming out with a device that was identical to the Tendo unit. And we put the OVR Performance thing. They got a jump thing that I'll get. But the stuff, OVR Performance, OVRperformance.com is not going to come out with this stuff until, I don't think it's going to be available to order till mid-May. Then you probably won't get anything to June. So it's a great alternative for the jump mats, great alternative for the Tendo because the product's going to be much cheaper, but it was a device or system of devices that was created by a coach for coaches that I think is going to be very helpful to the community. This is going to be a strict reading with a vertical jump thing. It's going to be a lot more strict than the jump mat. So if you're a coach and you're trying to send your athletes out somewhere and they get tested, I talked about the last podcast where they get tested on a stupid little clip thing that could be way off. But the clip with the athletes at the gym, when you clip the thing on your hip and you jump, the device is only like $200. So, you know, that clip thing. So someone said, Jared, they use this clip. So I just went ahead and bought it. I mean, $200, whatever. It's, and so I wanted to see if the kids are going to be using it somewhere else. I need to see how it kind of reads. So if they go to this place, I do have that tool that I can use. But the kids were anywhere between 2 inches to 10 inches difference between what the mat was reading. So the consistencies of the jump clip were very variable. I mean, you're talking 8-inch difference for some kids. 10 inches, but 8 inches between the two other kids. I mean, I tried it on probably about 30 kids, and the variability of what the mat were reading, what they were getting on the clip. You got some kids that are 2 inches, you got some kids that are 3, you got some kids that are 4. You even had let's say 2 kids that are like 10 inches difference. And so with the OVR Performance jump system, whatever they were getting on the mat, they were consistently getting the same distance. Like they were getting 2, if I'm wrong, Michael, you can tell me, I think 2 inches lower on the OVR versus the mat, maybe 2.5 inch difference. I don't know. It was pretty close, but it was consistent. So if I jump, you jump, and you got 30 other kids that jump, it was only a 2 inch less of what the mat was saying, and it was consistently all the time. So I'd rather get something that's going to be a little bit more strict than the jump mat, so that I know when they leave outside the gym, because now I'd have to clip the OVR and the jump mat, so that the kids, if you got the OVR, which is going to be a lot more portable and easy to get around, and you don't have to worry about beating up the mat. I've got 4 or 5 mats in the corner that don't work because of cords, and the kids hit the ground with the dumbbells and the mats end up bending. And there's things that can be wrong with the mat. But the OVR thing will also track ground contact times for running and sprinting. And there's a lot of things it can do with it. So I don't know why I got down that rabbit hole. But anyway, it's just a device that's going to be consistent. And now with the Tendo unit and the Ryan Flaherty method, I am all off of the thought process as to where I was going to go. But anyway, sometimes you can expose something like in Christian McCaffrey that if they were doing too much stuff outside and they kind of start using more minimal effective, we're not going to do this much. We're just going to cut about half the volume out in this. And his ability to recover, he probably already had that in there, being it was done in such a short period of time with his training, that it was just like that kid I had at the gym, he probably just exposed something in some of those athletes that already had that in their pocket, but they didn't know how to express it, so to speak. So I've not seen it. I've tried it. I've got kids deadlift. I got kids trap bar deadlift. I had kids sumo deadlift. I've tried everything I could for even the kids that are lacking as far as the progression rate in the gym, as far as the 40-yard dash. That's what I've tried. I tried it. If they were not quite matching up with squat ratios, hey, let's go try this for 2 months and see if the trap bar is working, see if the sumo is working, see if the regular conventional deadlift is working, because I know how to increase the strength in all squat, bench, deadlift, and all that stuff. And I've not seen it pop up as much. Do I keep track of non-contact injury rates with athletes? My athletes, I had Dorsey this past year come said, Jared, if we wouldn't have been doing those Nordics, my knee would have blown out. As far as, I'm sure there are a lot of critics which think that John's not a critic of it. He believes that heavy lifting will prevent injuries, where you got a lot of people believing that heavy lifting will increase injuries. I don't have, like I was trying to say with Dorsey, with him doing Nordics and with all his heavy lifting, your body's a lot more resilient to the injury. Now, as far as in the gym, we do get hiccups in the road. They'll get some SI issues that can be fixed real quick. We'll pop some rib heads out, which will get fixed real quick. But as far as those two things go, no. You'll have some kids come out of season with some AC joint issues, and once I'll floor press those kids if they can handle it versus the bench press or incline. So they may floor press and replace the bench for the other question with that, depending on stuff. So everybody's dependent upon what the situation is in the gym, what their situation is. So if they got AC joint issues, they may not bench. They may actually floor press first because they can't bench because benching hurts. So it's just a way to limit the range of motion or try to find ways to get them to do something. Sometimes they can do a neutral grip dumbbell bench or neutral grip Swiss bar. I try to find out what I can do for the kid if they're trying to come still get gains and minimize the loss or whatever. So you'll have kids all over the place that's kind of doing this, kind of doing that, and whatnot. So, John, hopefully I answered the question without going too much on a rant. That's what I have for that. I had a parent come into the gym the other day, and his son's playing high school football and stuff, and wanted to know what we could do to work on his speed and agility. And he goes, I know that's not your specialty. And I hate that so much. Just because we do not do it does not mean that I do not know it. I hate these other kids. Hey, we need to do speed and agility. Those are freaking buzzwords, and it drives me up the wall. Agility is the ability to change direction while moving. If you're 250 pounds and you get your body mass moving at this rate of speed, you're going to have X amount of force to overcome that heavy body movement. It's just like a dump truck rolling at 20 miles an hour versus a bike or a Prius rolling at 20 miles an hour. It's going to take a lot more effort to stop that dump truck and get it to change direction because of the sheer weight of it based off the horsepower, if all horsepower was equal. So that's why the squat ratios and these numbers matter so much. So if you look at all the stuff that I talk about where characteristics of elite sprinters have about 2.5 times body weight, the American College of Sports Medicine pulled two different groups, 1.9 versus 2.1. Everyone that squatted 2.1 times their body were significantly faster in the 10 to 20 and the 40-yard dash than the 1.9 times body weight squatters. So now if you take a kid that's not squatting his body weight or a subpar, not squatting his body weight or squatting 1.1 or 1.5, they're not going to be as shifty as the kids that are squatting 1.9 or 2.1 or even 2.5. So ability to change direction while moving has still a lot to do with how freaking strong you are. And so I do prep kids for pro days, get them ready for an NFL. We work on the shuttle. We work on the L drill. We work on the broad jump. This past year in 6 weeks, I had 3 athletes go up 7 inches on their broad jump just from utilizing the 45 hyper. And so I know how to do all that stuff. I don't do all that stuff because that's not needed at that time. If I have kids going to showcases or combines and I'm aware that that's happening or that they're going to go do that, I will train them in the gym for that. So then those drills become our accessories. So we squat, jump, drill. So if we're not, I don't know they're coming up or someone don't tell me, we hardly ever do any running at all. And when we're working for someone showcase, we don't do the 40-yard dash. We may do 20s, but it's primarily work on the shuttle drill, the L drill, because it's very specific footwork and how to get in and out of the turns can give them a lot better. So I had some kids went to a showcase this past year, and the people at the showcase came up to the parents and said, "Your kid's been trained in this." Yeah. So it bothers me that people don't understand that you're not going to get better at speed and agility until you're relatively much stronger than what you weigh. Now, can I teach a kid to go through those drills? Yeah, but what's the point if he's never going to use them? So by doing ladder drills, quick feet drills, there's no such thing. It's if you want quick feet, jump over hurdles, jump on and off boxes, but it's got to be at a significant height. Now, the reason the ladder don't work because the foot's only come a few inches off the ground and go and touch back down, touch back down, touch back down. It's the same thing. If you fall from a table down to the ground, it's going to be more force. So a lot of force when they're doing the ladder drill is not even being utilized. There's no force production. There's no force production at the hip. Their hips stay in a flexed position and they're going through moving their feet. And if they do that long enough, over time enough, a way to shorten a muscle, i.e. hip flexors in this case, would be to do repetitive motions in a crouched bent over position all the time. It's shorten your hip flexors and therefore you won't have a greater stride length when you're doing the 40-yard dash or even the 100-meter time. So by doing ladder drills, you can actually make your kids go backwards. They may look good at doing it. Just because they look good don't mean they are good in other tests. You know, if you want to test them in the ladder drill, make them look good. But then I'd rather have someone that can't do the ladder at all but run a 4.5 40 versus a kid that can look like a sewing machine going through the ladder and runs a 5 flat 40. It's all about transfer. And if you're just doing drills just to be doing drills and it's not transferring to the field, what the hell are the points doing the drills? So anyway, and I had this, this is another thing that happened. I had this kid, he's supposed to be coming to the gym every day. And years ago, before I knew what I know now, like everybody else, you know, I was going to go over this book. I'll do this later. I'm not going to have time today. He started off a month fine. He went from a 195 bench in 1 month to a 220-pound bench in a month. He went from a 25.3 vertical to a 26.4 vertical. He jumped a 7'11 broad jump to an 8'4 broad jump. So his bench, his jumping, both improved. Both the vertical and broad jump improved. 5 inches and the broad, which is really good for a month, and the 1 inch improvement in vertical, which is pretty much standard. And the 195, the 220 is a 25-pound improvement. Like I said, I've been averaging 20 pounds per month per kid if they're doing 3 days a week. But the kid's 40 went from a 4.9 to a 5 flat going backwards. Okay. But the kid ran a freaking 10-mile marathon on Saturday that we were testing on Tuesday. I said, why in the hell would you? I don't know. I thought it'd be cool. Endurance training reduces a muscle's inherent capability of producing force. So that's why you got these people in track getting slower. That's why if you see these kids outside doing extra running and not knowing the physiological aspects of the body, they don't understand what happens to it. The endurance system will override the power system. And so therefore, kid got a little slower. But more importantly than that, I asked him the other day, today's Wednesday, I asked him yesterday, because he's supposed to be coming, he wants to increase his bench. And I've been trying to press. He said, if you Jared, err on the side of heavier. I did. And he bitches about missing reps. I'm like, holy jeez. If that err on the side of the lighter, Jared, why you give me this lightweight? It's like a constant battle with some of these kids. Just shut up and do it. You know, just shut up and get your shit done, get your work done. Don't overthink it. If I write it, I wrote it for a reason, and trust it. Now, sometimes it may be light. It's supposed to be light because if you press too hard for too long at such a stimulus, you could actually end up going backwards. So it's still the same thing as almost doing nothing. And the kid's dad came in after the first month because if you heard me talking about podcasts, I will cover somehow. I'll start a progression off of a kid. And after the third day, the dad came in, Jared, I just want to see how the kid's doing. Because on that third day, I gave the kid a light bench day. And so the kid thought I was hurting his gains. And I'm making him rest 4.5 to 5 minutes between the sets. And this kid was doing bodybuilding training before he come to the gym. So he said, Jared, can I do this and this between my sets? I said, no. I said, that's stupid. I said, you're going to hurt your bench gains. And so by the end of the first month, he went from that 195 to 220, and he was actually resting 6 minutes between the stuff. But the thing about me starting the gym earlier, and I know more now than I did then, is I had the kids rolling at a faster pace, and we were sweating more. They came up more tired, and they were getting a workout. I was actually not training them, and I didn't know that at the time like I do now. And so what you'll get, and what I think I'm getting with this kid, is he's not coming out sweating. They're not coming out dog tired. They're not coming out like they just finished a high school workout in a high school weight room where it's go, 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 go. These kids are doing kettlebell. Like some kids are, you got one kid at some of these schools, one kid may be benching, one kid's spotting, and if they're in groups of 3, the other kid's doing kettlebell swings. And then as soon as that kid's done benching, the kid going kettlebell swings, goes to spot, the spot goes to bench, and it's just kind of there's no rest. And so your rest is as long as it takes 2 people to do their bench sets. There's no way to get stronger like that. And trying to keep busy. So it's always been the keep busy mentality. And so this kid, after getting that 25-pound gain per month, he's starting to miss bench days month 2, second month. So like, what the hell's happening? He goes, Jared, my parents signed me up with the other trainer before I came here. I said, with the bodybuilding person? Yes. And he said, my legs are so sore and I can't do legs today. And it was our leg days, primarily Tuesday at the gym. He said, can I bench? And I said, why in the hell would you do that? I don't know. My parents told me that's what I was doing. I didn't feel like arguing with them. I was like, just like I told you not to run the marathon and you got slower, you're going to be slower again this month because you're doing sets of 12 and reps to failure on squats. I know, Jared. I said, what? And so he said he didn't feel like arguing with his parents, and some other kids said, dude, that's going to mess up your gains. And the kid just kind of like, whatever. The kid likes to work hard. And the thing about that, it's okay. But if they're trying to do way too much all the time, if they're trying to feel like they got a great workout in, like that's probably almost puking leg day, like old school bucket squats, you squat till you got to puke in a bucket. It's the wrong mentality that you need in order to get great performance. And with that kid doing that, it's going to mess up. He was already complaining about his vertical. I said, you're going up an inch per month, and if you stick with it, I mean, he's already... he went from a 25 to a 26, and he's on board to jump a 28. So he went up an inch, on board to go up another 2 inches. So we went up inch the first month. He can go up another 2 inches this month. That's 3 inches in 2 months. He's well above average. But now he's starting to do this bodybuilding training, and I think it's because his parents think that he's not working hard enough at the gym because of the rest breaks. But he's a football player. His results of the work should be the improved 25-pound bench press. The 711 broad jump goes to 8.4. The vertical jump goes from a 25.3 to a 26.4. And those are good jump numbers after running a freaking 10-mile marathon the Saturday before. So he ran Saturday, off Sunday, off Monday, test Tuesday. So 2 days off. But the 40-yard dash is so sensitive and it fell backwards. And next week I'm testing the athlete. So we're going to see what happens to the 40-yard dash next week with this kid. And I'll go over this book that I brought out that I was going to go over. But Jared's running short on time and he's got to get to the gym. So anyway, thank you guys for the questions. Hopefully some of this information helps you. If you have questions, you listen to this podcast, please feel free to reach out. And if it's in email format, I'll put you in and try to get these questions answered so that I can help more people like Jeff and like John. So Anyway, thank you all for watching. Thank you for listening. Have a great day.